edition of The Message. I'm your host, Donatus King, and we'll spend this next hour with one purpose in mind, and that one purpose is delivering the message that God is Almighty. Everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be was made by God. Everything that ever happened, is happening right now, or ever will happen was made to happen by God. God has a master plan for all time and all creation. God is Almighty. The message is brought to you by, is produced by the Society of Knowledge Incorporated. The Society is an interdenominational, religious, spiritual organization. Our members come from various different religious and spiritual backgrounds. We have various different religious and spiritual beliefs. Although we come from different backgrounds and have different beliefs, there's one belief that we share. There's one piece of knowledge that we hold in common, and that's the knowledge that there is a being, by no matter what name we may have been taught to call that being, by no matter what name we may have come to know that being, whether that name is God, Allah, Yahweh, Jesus, Buddha, Jehovah, nature, by no matter what name, we know that there is a being that possesses not some of the power, not most of the power, but all of the power. We know that there is indeed an almighty being. That's the reason we do this show, and the only reason we do this show, to deliver the message that that being that personally I call God, that being is indeed almighty. Today is January the 26th, 2017. I remind you of that fact because tonight, as we are on most Thursdays, we are live. And I remind you of that fact because this show is an open discussion. It's a two-way conversation. For those of you that are watching on television, you see the numbers that are on the bottom of your screen. I invite you to use those numbers and call in. For those of you that are watching by Facebook, I invite you to post a comment and we'll respond to it. And I remind you of that fact because, as I said, this is an open discussion, a two-way conversation. If there's something that's going on in your church, your mosque, your masjid, your synagogue, your temple, your place of worship, and you want to let the world know about it, call in or leave a comment and let the world know about it. If there's something that's going on in your nonprofit organization and you want to let the world know about it, call in or post a comment and let the world know about it. More important than what's going on in your place of worship, more important than what's going on in your nonprofit, if there's something that God has done for you in your life, a miracle that God has worked in your life, and I'm literally talking about miracles because the God that I'm here to tell you about works miracles. I'm not talking about worked miracles thousands of years ago. I'm talking about January 26, 2017, God is working miracles. So if God has worked a miracle in your life, call in, post a comment, share your testimony with the world. You know, it may be someone that's watching this show right now that's in need of a miracle. It may be someone that's going through some difficult health problems, going through some difficult financial problems, going through some difficult relationship problems, and they may be right on the verge of giving up. You know, we're going to talk about folks that are on that verge. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But maybe you've gone through something similar, and God made a way to see you through. So call in, post your comments, share your testimony with the world. And I keep saying share it with the world because as I speak right now, this show is being seen not only here in the city of New Orleans, not only in the state of Louisiana, not only in the United States of America, but as I speak right now, folks that are in Juarez, Mexico, are able to tune in and watch the message live. That's right. You see the website that's on your screen. Those of you watching TV, and that's www.livestream.com/messengerdnk. I invite you to log that website into your web browser because 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can visit that website and see previously recorded episodes of the message. And no matter where you are, even if you are in Juarez, Mexico, on most Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Central, you can visit that website and watch the message live. And for those of you that are watching by Facebook, on Facebook Live, lock it in. You see the page, the same page that you're on now, 7:30 p.m. on Central. Share it and join the discussion. We have a full program tonight. And when I say we have a full program, we have some things that we're going to be talking about. We're going to get to our messages, our announcements in just a minute. But before we get to those, actually, let's do that. Let's go straight to our announcements. Let's see. Words of inspiration today will be coming out of the book of Genesis, chapter 42, verses 10 through 21. And our announcements, Brother Chris's prayer line, that's 504-866-5042. That's open Mondays and Wednesdays, 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Brother Chris also offers some meditation training. That's at 9:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Bible study in Cope Line, Monday through Friday, 2:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. And that's free. And again, the number 504-866-5042. The suggested readings, the book of James, 1 Peter, and John. And Brother Chris, if you're watching, I see that we do have James up there twice. We're going to make sure that we get that corrected. Brother Chris did call in another announcement and didn't get a chance to put it on the screen. But that announcement is that Renaissance, the Renaissance on St. Roch, is taking applications Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And for the phone number for that, if you give me a call, and that number is 504-821-3221, and we can get that phone number for you. But this is job opportunities. Renaissance on St. Roch is taking applications Monday through Thursdays. There's our main website. I was telling you about that a little while ago, and that is www.godisalmighty.org. I invite you to log that website in, and when you go to that website, there are links to all of our social media outlets. We have a religious discussion blog. For those of you that are watching out in Lafayette, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for visiting our blog and leaving your comments. We have Facebook page at The Messenger, and also Facebook. Those of you that are watching on Facebook, you know that the preferred page is my personal page, and that's Donatus N. King. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Minister Antoine Brown's prayer line, 504-214-1379. It is free, P.O. Box 94, Violet, Louisiana, 70092. I haven't heard anything from Minister Brown this week. I hope everything is going fine with Minister Brown. And Mr. Brown, if you're watching, why don't you call in and just let us know that everything is going great with you. Peacekeepers in New Orleans, 504-723-3976, Beef Hotline. If someone in the community is having a dispute, call the peacekeepers. They can come out and help mediate that dispute without resorting to violence. Intern is needed for the message. We do need some help here. So if anyone that is watching the show, or if you know anyone that's interested in getting into the profession of media, not only TV broadcasting, but also the media as far as live streaming now, and that's the hot thing right now. We have the equipment here, and you can come in and get trained, and that can open some doors for you for employment. Renaissance One is hiring, 504-243-1901. And I do understand that we're having on Facebook that there's some glare on the board. I understand that, and we're going to continually work to try to improve that. Rock of Ages Ministries International, Apostle Ronnie Bailey. That website, www.ronniebailey.com. Minister Bailey is doing a lot of good work out here, not only in the city of New Orleans, but they're based in Lafayette. but they're constantly having service here in Kenner and doing things here in the greater New Orleans area. So Minister Bailey, and I've appeared on Minister Bailey's show in the past, and I'm looking forward to actually going back on there in the near future. St. Joan of Arc Catholic Church, 8321 Birch Street, here in the city of New Orleans. Their services are Saturdays 4 p.m., Sundays 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. You can call for free smoke detectors. Call 311 for smoke detectors. You know, it's gotten a little bit cooler in the city of New Orleans the past couple of days, and it's supposed to get even cooler, so folks are going to be turning on those heaters. Don't take chances. Don't take chances. If you don't have a smoke detector, call 311. They'll come bring one out for free. They won't charge you. They'll bring it out. It's the New Orleans Fire Department. They'll bring it out. They'll give it to you free, and they'll install it free. And if you already have smoke detectors in your house, go ahead and check the batteries. Change the batteries. Put new batteries in there. It could save a life. Please don't leave children in the car. Please check your back seat for any children that may have just accidentally been left in the car. Glory Land Congregational Baptist Church. And Glory Land is located 4541 America Street in the city of New Orleans. The phone number there, it is 504-242-8444. Reverend Adam Lee is the pastor teacher. Congratulations, Reverend Lee, being elected to the executive committee of New Orleans Branch NAACP. Glory Land has a Sunday school, 9 a.m. Worship service is at 10:30 a.m. Prayer service Tuesdays 7 p.m. Bible study Tuesdays 7:15 p.m. McDonald 35 Brick Sale. Again, support Mac 35. There's their website. You visit their website. The God is Almighty Worldwide Message Tour. We're going to be in Monroe, Louisiana, in Sicily Island, Louisiana, at the mid next month. That's going to be February 12th to the 14th. We're going to we'll take and record some more videos up there, and be passing out some information and standing on the highways and byways, delivering that message that God is Almighty. And hopefully we can get some good testimony out of there from folks in that Monroe area that will be able to testify about what God has done for them in their lives. Religious spiritual study, prove all things, hold fast that which is good, coming out of the first book of Thessalonians, chapter 5, verse 21. And we'll be reading our words of inspiration tonight. We'll come out of the book of Genesis, chapter 42, starting in verse 10. Before we get to our words of inspiration, a couple of other announcements that did not get a chance to put them on the board. But those announcements, one, I lost a friend. I lost a very, very close friend this past week. And that close friend of mine was Brother Roland Campbell. And Brother Campbell, he transitioned this week, and his services will be this upcoming Saturday. And I just want to, just express my grief. And our families have been knowing each other. For our children came up together, went to school together, came up together, so that's how close we are. As I say, not only does my sympathy go out to his wife and his children, but just my own grief in his passing, and that's Brother Roland Campbell. I understand we do have a caller. Caller, are you there?
Yes, Messenger. Good evening. How you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Brother Chris?
I'm doing good.
Good. Yeah, I saw what you had told me about earlier, that we have James listed twice.
Okay.
Right. Right. Okay. And we're gonna try to take care of that and correct that before next week.
For next week?
Right. Yeah, we're gonna take care of that as far as having it listed twice.
Okay. I just wanted to tell everybody to please give me a call. I'm willing and able to pray with you. That's what my message is about. Praying for people, with people, and for people.
All right.
That's my word.
All right. All right. The you know.
And I can't explain it enough. That's my word, because that's what God gave me to do. That's what God put on my heart to do.
Right. Right. You know, Brother Chris, as you were speaking and you were saying that, it go to show you the way the Spirit works, and you might have seen me grabbing from my Bible. I'm looking in the book of John, chapter 1, and verse 23. And it says, he said, I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness, make straight the way of the Lord, as said the prophet Isaiah. All right? And sometimes when we're out there, Brother Chris, it does seem like we're crying in the wilderness, the voice of one. And, you know, God touches me and lets me know that his will be done. You know, when the scripture talks about crying in the wilderness, when we first look at that scripture, it says that, well, in the wilderness, well, that means he's out there by himself, just crying to the wilderness, just talking to nobody, because nobody's out there, because he's in the wilderness. But you know, as the Spirit is working on me and enlightening me and opening my eyes and just giving me a little bit of understanding, that we are never alone. And any energy that we put out, any words that we put out, is not falling void. Whatever we put out there, we may not see anyone that we are talking to. We may not get that immediate response from someone that's in our eyesight. But God has us doing what we're doing for a reason, contributing to the all in all, contributing our part to the universe. So, Brother Chris, be strengthened, be encouraged, and I am praying that folks will call the prayer line and give you a call. I am praying that happens. But I just want to be here and let you know that you being there, you extending that hand, letting folks know that if they need help, that you're there. You're making a contribution, Brother Chris, and it's much appreciated. Thank you, brother.
Thank you very much.
All right. All
God
right.
bless you, and have a blessed week.
Thank you, brother. That's Brother Chris, and again, encourage all of you, and that number again, 866-5042. That's 504-866-5042. A couple of more announcements before we get into our words of inspiration, and one of those show you how the Spirit works. Okay, it just goes to show you how the Spirit works. Last Thursday, we had two ladies on this show. Evangelist Norma Chapman and the founder and president, a young lady by the name of Tanya Callie Red, better known as Callie Red Sutton. Those ladies shared with us something that was close to their hearts. Both of them, I want to stress this word, both of them were survivors. Understand when I say that word, survivors of domestic violence. Both of them. Evangelist Chapman shared with us how she had been shot by a man she was in a relationship with. I think she said she was in a coma for 40 days. And she survived. Callie Red shared with us about the abusive relationship she was in. And she survived. And both of those ladies shared information with us on how to escape an abusive environment, shared resources where you could go for shelter, how you can apply to get a restraining order. That was Thursday, last Thursday. And then the very next day, that Friday, here in the city of New Orleans, a young man killed his girlfriend who was pregnant. Killed a policeman, and then killed himself. We talked about domestic violence on Thursday, and then the very next day, domestic violence took 3 lives. The very next day. So it's real. So those of you that are in abusive relationships, there are some resources that can help you. Those of you that are in abusive relationships, it's nothing to play with. It could mean a life. So, as I say, the way the Spirit was working, we talk about it on Thursday, and Friday this tragedy occurs. So, for those of you that missed last week's show, you can go, if you're watching Facebook, you can still scroll down to Facebook. If you're watching on TV, you can go to our live stream, and that show is uploaded. You can watch it there. You can go to our YouTube, and that show, last week's show, is on YouTube. And you can reach all those different outlets by going to our main website. And that main website is www.godisalmighty.org. You go to that website, and you have access to all of our social media. But that, as I say, that's not a coincidence. It wasn't a coincidence that we talked about it Thursday and that happened Friday. That wasn't a coincidence. That's the way the Spirit had it laid out, trying to send that warning out, trying to send out that warning. All right. Now, before we go to our words of prayer, one more announcement. And this is some personal, okay, personal. And I'm sharing this personal information because the same way last Thursday we sent out a warning about domestic violence, this Thursday I'm sending out a warning about colon cancer. And colon cancer is one of the leading causes of death in the United States, colon cancer. And I'm speaking about that because a preventative measure that you can take is getting screened. And one of the ways that you're screened is by having a colonoscopy. And I share that information. I say it's personal because I went through that procedure this past week. First time in my life. I really should have had it done many years ago, but thank God I did have it done now. Had a colonoscopy this past week. And let me share something with you. For those of you that, may be thinking about, man, I don't know, that might hurt or something. No pain. You're under anesthetic. There's no pain associated with it. And it could save your life. Going through that procedure could actually save your life. So for those of you that are over 50, definitely go make arrangements and have that procedure done. Okay? For those of you that are over 50, definitely. Nowadays there's a lot of us that have insurance now that didn't have it before Obamacare. And let me share something with you now. If you have insurance now, you better hurry up and go use it, because we don't know how long Obamacare is going to be in place. We don't know, because they're trying to get rid of it now. So there are a whole lot of us that didn't have insurance before Obamacare. And there's a lot of us that won't have insurance after or if they take away Obamacare. So go out while you still have insurance. Go out and get your colon checked. Go ahead and get a colonoscopy. It could save not a life, it could save your life. All right. Let's get into our words of inspiration, coming out of the book of Genesis, chapter 42, verses 10 through 21. Genesis chapter 42, verse 10 to 21. And they said unto him, Nay, my Lord, but to buy food are thy servants come. All right, now this is let's back up a little bit so that we can refresh ourselves what he's talking about. Okay? Remember who's talking right now. This is Joseph's brothers that have come from the land of Canaan. They've come into Egypt to buy food because there's a famine throughout all the world. Throughout the world, famine. And Joseph is the second most powerful man in Egypt now. Pharaoh has made him, put him in that position. And his brothers, the same brothers that threw him in the pit, stole his coat, went home, told his daddy that he was dead, got eaten up by wild beasts. Those same brothers are now bowing down before him and asking him to sell them some food that they can take back to Canaan. Okay? Now, his brothers don't recognize him because it's been a whole lot of years since they threw him in that pit. A whole lot of years since they did him that dirt. And even though they don't recognize him, he recognizes them. He knows who it is. But see, as important a man as Joseph is, and when you look at the Judeo-Christian religions, Joseph has a high place in those religions. So as important as he is, and as much as God blessed him, because God gave Joseph the blessing to be able to interpret dreams, as blessed as he was, Joseph still has some human emotions. And forgive me for what went through my mind just now. You know, Joseph, and I'm going to say it, I can't hold my tongue. You know, Joseph was kind of petty. And if Joseph was living today, remember, Joseph was the second most powerful man in Egypt, but he still had a little streak of meanness in him. He still had some pettiness in him. And that reminds me of somebody else that's alive right now in 2017 that has a whole lot of power, but sometimes they can be so petty that they wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and be doing tweets about some little petty stuff. If Joseph was living now, that's what they be talking about Joseph. Say, Joseph up there doing a tweet. Yeah, Joseph. And the little petty stuff he was doing, he know that's his brothers. But he's going to act like he don't know them. Okay? He knows that's his brothers, but he acts like he doesn't know them. And he's telling them, you must be some kind of spy. All right? So that's what we're reading now. Last week when we was reading in verses 8 and 9, it was talking about Joseph saying, who are you? You some kind of spy. You come to see what we're doing here in Egypt. See, so that's that pettiness coming out of him. And now we see his brother saying, nay, my Lord, but to buy food or thy servants come. All right. Joseph knew that. Now look what they say. Now this next deal, it says, we are all one man's sons. We are true men. Thy servants are no spies. All right, now let's get a little bit of understanding on this. All right. It's 10 of them jokers. 10 of them together. Remember? Jacob had 12 children, right? Jacob had 12. Joseph was one of the 12. So you take Joseph away, that leaves 11. So there's 11 children 11 sons that were still in Canaan. But when this famine came, the daddy, Jacob, and Jacob, his name was later changed to Israel. But Jacob said, look, sons, I heard that they have a lot of food in Egypt. Go buy some food and bring it back here. But Jacob said, look, I've already lost one son, because remember, they lied to him and said that Joseph was dead, eaten up by wild beasts. Oh, Jacob saying, look, I've already lost one son. Now I'm not going to send all y'all 11 remaining sons. I'm not going to send all y'all, because if something happened to all y'all, then I won't have any sons. And that'd be tragedy. Jacob said, one of y'all will stay here with me. All right? So he sent 10 of them to Egypt to buy some corn, buy some food. All right? So here it is, this group of 10 foreigners. Yep, foreigners. See, they didn't have a wall. They didn't have a wall in between Egypt and Canaan. See, Pharaoh didn't say, I'm going to build a wall and y'all Canaanites going to pay for it. Pharaoh didn't say that. Pharaoh said, come on. You hungry? You want to get some food? Come on, you can buy some food. There ain't no wall up there. Come on. So there's 10 of them. Here's 10 foreigners. 10 foreigners are coming into Egypt. So Joseph is acting like he's leery about who they are and what they're up to. So Joseph said, y'all some spies. He knew better, but he said, y'all some spies. And his brother said, no, we are all brothers. We are all brothers. And get some understanding. Joseph had been living in Egypt for a while. So Joseph spoke Egyptian. Right? He knew the language. And he also knew the language of the Canaanites. Right? But his brothers didn't know that he knew the language of the Canaanites because his brothers thought he was an Egyptian. They didn't recognize him. Right? So just like nowadays, sometimes we might be at Home Depot or Lowe's or something, and we see some folks that from another country, and they might be hanging outside Home Depot asking if you need some workers or something. And they might start talking in a different language. And we stand up there, we don't know what they're saying, we just know that they're saying something. And that's what his brothers was doing. His brothers started talking that Canaanite talk, thinking that Joseph don't know what they're talking about, but Joseph knew, he understood it. Okay? All right, but he's putting them through all these changes. He knows who they are, but he's putting them through these changes, those 10. All right, let's move on. We are all one man's sons. We are true men. Thy servants are no spies. And he said unto them, nay, but to see the nakedness of the land ye are come. All right. So this is Joseph, and I see Sister Michelle, tuned in here on Facebook. That's great. You can jump in if you have some comments. All right. And they said, thy servants are 12 brethren, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. See, that's what I was telling you about. 12 brethren, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is not. All right, so look, this is the explanation now. This is the explanation that Joseph's brothers are giving to him. He's saying, look, there are 12 of us. We're not spies. We didn't come in to do any harm. We came to buy some food. They got 12 of us. One, the youngest, is still at home. And one is not. There's one is dead. One is dead, and one's still at home. Now, they're saying this to Joseph. And Joseph, he knows what the deal is. He knows that he's still living. He knows that he's Joseph. But he's not going to tell them. See what I told you about that little pettiness? See, Joseph could have at any minute there, he could have said, look, I'm your brother, man. Don't be worried about one of your brothers is not, one is dead. No, this is me. I'm alive. I forgive you for what you did. I forgive you for stealing my coat of many colors. I forgive you for throwing me in that pit. I forgive you for all of that. I'm your brother. I love you. He could have said all that, but no, he didn't do that. See, that's that little streak of pettiness, that revenge. Now, see, one of the things about it, like, Joseph was human. See, now, if someone is important in the Judeo-Christian religion, if someone is important as Joseph, if his humanness exhibited itself in this pettiness, that just lets me know that, look, All of us are human. And from time to time, these human traits may come out, no matter how holy we might try to be, no matter how sanctified we might try to be. We're humans. And all these different little quirks can come out at any time. And we see that coming out of Joseph now. And Joseph, I could just put myself in Joseph's shoes. He's standing back and he's thinking, oh, look at him squirming now. Look at him squirming. Look, they're getting nervous. They think that I'm getting ready to kill them because they're spies. Oh, you deserve that. You threw me in that pit. Oh, yeah, you suffering now. You're all nervous. Yeah, getting my revenge. Yeah. I could just get inside Joseph's head right now. Into that pettiness. Yeah. Hey, how you like it now? Hey, throw me in that pit. All right. All right. And Joseph said unto them, that is it that I spake unto you, saying, ye are spies. Now look at this part. Now you see Joseph, boy, I tell you about being petty. Look what Joseph set this up. Hereby ye shall be proved. By the life of Pharaoh, ye shall not go forth hence, except your youngest brother come hither. Send one of you and let him fetch your brother, and ye shall be kept in prison, that your words may be proved, whether there be any truth in you, or else by the life of Pharaoh, surely ye are spies. All right, now, you see I'm talking about Joseph? Look how he set this up. Okay? Look how he set this up. Now, the first thing he says, go get your youngest brother. Okay? The youngest brother. And guess what? For those of you that remember, when we read about this months and months ago, the youngest brother was who? The youngest brother was Joseph. So now Joseph has given them an impossible task. An impossible task. They have lied to Joseph and told him that the youngest one is still there with the daddy. When in reality, the youngest one is Joseph, and they thought that Joseph was dead, but they lied to him. And now Joseph said, oh, look, I'm going to make you squirm a little bit more. I'm going to make you sweat a little bit more. I'm going to put you in a trick bag. Go get the youngest one. And while you're going to get that youngest one, the rest of y'all I'm going to keep here in prison. And I'm going to see whether or not you all are spies, or see whether or not you're telling the truth. All right? And he put them all together into ward 3 days. He put them in prison, all of them, for 3 days. And Joseph said unto them the third day, this do and live, for I fear God. Now, I'm just going to, for 1 second, I'm just going to slow down just a minute. For 3 days, he put him in the prison for 3 days. And remember, there's something about that number 3. Okay, that number 3. Something about it. The number 3, the number 7, and number 40. Something about those numbers. They're placed in ward, they're placed in prison for 3 days. Christ was laid in a tomb for 3 days. Something about that number. But that's a discussion for another day. All right. And Joseph said unto them the third day, this do and live, for I fear God. But bring your youngest brother unto me, so shall your words be verified, and ye shall not die. And they did so. Now look at it. I told you they were squirming, huh? I told you they were squirming. Look at it. And they said one to another, we are verily guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the anguish of his soul when he besought us, and we were not here. Therefore is this distress come upon us. See, you see what I was saying? I told you they had some anxiety. I told you that. And look what the scripture said. They're talking about, therefore has this distress. Distress. Okay? We're nervous now. We've been given an impossible task. And then they start blaming each other. We knew we was doing wrong when we threw Joseph in that hole. Oh yeah, we done brought this on ourselves. Joseph, we threw our brother in that hole, and he was beseeching us. He was crying out for us. We saw the anguish in his soul, but we threw him in that hole anyway. Else we wouldn't hear. Therefore, this distress come upon us. All right. So we're gonna end those scripture readings for tonight, and we have a few more minutes in the show. But as we've gone along, and as I say every week, the purpose of this show, it has only one purpose, and that one purpose is delivering the message that God is Almighty. And I've repeatedly said this on this show. When we read the scriptures, when we read through the Bible on this show, it's not to promote the Bible. It's not to say that the Bible is better than any other religious work. It's not to say one religion is better than the other. The reason that we use the Bible is to deliver the message that God is Almighty. And when we read through these scriptures, it illustrates, it proves that God is Almighty. You see, the scriptures that we've been reading tonight, and those are the scriptures about Joseph's brothers. One thing that we know is that the scriptures say all things work together. All things work together. And here we read about how Joseph's brothers are lamenting the fact. They're sad about the fact. They are remorseful. They are regretful about the fact that they threw their brother in that hole. And for anyone at the time that was alive at the time, for anyone to say that those brothers stealing Joseph's coat, throwing him in that pit, if anyone that was living at that time seeing that going on, they definitely would not have said that that was a good thing. They would have said that's one of the most low down, despicable things that could occur. I think they call that fratricide. When you kill one of your brothers or sisters. And they didn't outright kill him, but they threw him in that hole. So anybody that was living and observing this thing at that time would have said that that's a bad thing, that's an evil thing that has happened. And it's a lot of folks that would not acknowledge that that was part of God's plan, would not acknowledge that it was part of God's work, would not acknowledge that it was God's will. But because God is not a God only for yesterday, because God is not a God only for today, because God is not a God only for tomorrow, because the God I'm here to tell you about is a God for yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That God has a plan that extends from yesterday through today and into tomorrow. You know, I'm going to use the analogy of a man, okay? The analogy of a human. I might wake up in the morning and the sun is shining, and you might see me go grab my umbrella, grab my rain hat, my raincoat, and you might see me carrying that around. And you say, Brother Donatus, what it is that you're doing carrying all that stuff around? Look, the sun is shining, and you carrying an umbrella, and got on a rain, carrying a raincoat, and carrying a rain hat, and the sun shining, you carrying all that stuff around. Well, see, I'm carrying that stuff around because before I left the house, I was watching the news, and the weatherman said that it's sunny and bright right now outside, but we have a line of thunderstorms coming through about 2 o'clock. And I believe what the weatherman told me. So I planned for the weather that was coming. Even though I couldn't see the weather, I knew it was coming because the weatherman told me. So that's why I have that. And then when 2 o'clock come around and it starts storming outside, I put on my raincoat, take my umbrella, get my rain hat, put it on. And now it makes some sense as to me carrying that stuff around with me all day. Well, see, I use that analogy because God knows about, come on now, God knows about those thunderstorms that's going to occur in the future. God knows about that. See, the same way that I knew about that thunderstorm because I listened to the weatherman, God knows about those thunderstorms, not because he listens to the weatherman, but because he is the weatherman. See, God is the way. God makes the weather. God knows what's going to happen next year. God knows what's going to happen 10 years from now. God knows what's going to happen 1,000,000 years from now. because God knows the future, God puts things in place right now in the present in preparation for what God has planned in the future. You see, Joseph was put in that pit so that all them years later, he would be in a position of power to help his people. See, God knew about the famine that was going to come over the whole land. God knew about that. And God knew that he did not want those Canaanites to starve. He knew that. So what God did, he took a Canaanite and made him the second most important man, the second most powerful man in Egypt. So that when that famine came throughout the whole land, that Canaanite was up there able to help his people. Get some understanding. Because if it was anybody else but a Canaanite, if it was anybody else but Joseph up there in the second most powerful place, they might have really thought that those brothers were spies, might have killed him. But because Joseph was there, because years before God had threw Joseph in that pit, brought Joseph out, brought him into Egypt, Joseph was in a position to save his people from starving to death. So God, each and every day, God is using each and every last one of us, putting us in the position that we are beneficial for his plan in the future. As a close, may that knowledge that God is almighty, that God is in control, that God has a plan for you and me, he has a plan for the whole universe, may that knowledge in this upcoming week, no matter what God has planned for us in this upcoming week, may that knowledge that God is almighty, may that knowledge bring you and yours peace.